Big decision tonight. An investigation at a Southwest Kansas high school is underway as Ulysses police confirm the investigation this afternoon. Exactly what is alleged to have happened, though, is still unclear. Brandon Stidd has been working on this all day and joins us with what we've learned. Brandon?
Yeah, Mike, I talked to the chief of police in Ulysses this afternoon, and he's heard many rumors, just like many of you, including allegations of a sexual assault happening at the high school. But he says those rumors are not true. He did confirm that police are investigating an incident at the school. He added that it did not involve a sexual assault, but he would not go further as exactly what was reported. As far as crimes, the chief says the investigation is ongoing and his department does not have a case classified as a crime. Ulysses school superintendent confirms an incident of alleged misconduct involving a group of high school students was reported on August 30th. He says the school responded immediately and thoroughly to ensure the safety and care of their students. And student information is confidential by law, and he is unable to share any additional information or details of the incident, investigation, or possible disciplinary action.